Welcome to the show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ruben Uncut. And today we are diving back into the wacky world of 1950s propaganda and shit. Of course, in the 1950s, there was a lot of social engineering, and it featured a lot of instructional videos. The first one for today is your thrift habits. I'm not really sure what these are about. I haven't watched them. I have not pre-watched them. But let's see what's going on here. This is once again a Coronet film. Your thrift habits. Coronet instructional films. I'll describe things for people who can't see this. Director of School of Business, Simon's College produced this film.
In the afternoons, the store across the street from school does a rushing business. At least one customer buys those deluxe concoctions.
All right, we're in a malt shop. This feels familiar. I think we've been here before.
Meet Jack Firth. And look at that.
Got him some
It's a
fancy
peach
ice
super
cream.
delight.
Boy, that sure is a swell-looking camera, Ralph. Wish my dad would get me one like that.
Well, my dad didn't buy the camera. I bought it myself.
You did?
I think I know where this is going.
Well, how did you do that? How could you afford it? You don't earn any more than I do.
No, I just saved up for the camera.
Saved up? How can you save up? There's always something you have to buy.
I got Pete Super Delight, huh? Well, I just worked out a budget that allowed for savings.
A budget? Oh, no. I tried a budget once. Didn't work.
Well,
Is this why? This is stuff we totally don't get taught nowadays. And cranky old people expect us to already
I tried a
know.
couple budgets at first that didn't work either. Then Dad showed me a way that really can work.
How? How do you work your budget? Oh, no. It wouldn't work for me anyway.
Oh, it might, Jack. See? This is my camera graph. That's the way I kept track of my progress in saving for the camera.
Well, what does the graph mean?
Well, along this side over here,
Wow. Society, we used to tell you shit.
this side over here, I have the savings marked off. And the weeks are marked along the bottom.
All right, for those who are looking at this, for those who are not on Spotify right now watching the video, there's definitely a graph, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm looking at it, and I don't know if I understand. Like, there's nothing on this graph. It just says the savings per day, and then the day. But like, this isn't technically a budget. Maybe they'll go into it. Maybe they'll explain it. Let's see.
I aimed at this dotted line to save $2 a week for 20 weeks, and then I'd have my camera.
Okay, solid, makes sense. Let's see what happens next. By the way, there is a wall on the sign. There is a sign on the wall that says Strawberry Supreme 15 cents. Yep, this kid's going over his budget with 15 cents. Inflation's a motherfucker.
I almost made it too, but then a couple of times I slipped and didn't save my $2 that week. But I finally made it, and now...
Oh, it looks like a good idea. What's this one here?
Well, that's for the tripod I want. I'm doing better on this graph. It's a lot easier now that I've done it once.
Yes, Ralph has a budget and a method of saving that shows results. If Jack were as determined to get a camera...
It's worth noting they have not actually showed us a budget. They have showed us a graph that he uses to keep track of his savings, but they have not actually shown us a budget.
If all of us were as determined to save for things we want, perhaps we could budget...
I guess before phones, people really valued cameras. Like now, like legit cameras are a niche interest. But back then, I guess everyone was like, well, fuck, I gotta have a camera to take pictures. Nowadays, it's like, oh yeah, I got a phone. I don't need a camera.
We could budget successfully and get some of them. What about it? Is it easy to make a budget work? Jack will have to prove that to himself. And if his taste is always as rich as it is this afternoon, it may not be easy.
You see, though, in fairness, I'm glad I'm watching this because this video explains why boomers think that our problem as millennials is that we eat avocado toast. This is why they think that, because they grew up on videos like this. And let me be clear, I'm not saying this is bad advice. This is good advice. But this is a video about children with children's problems. These are teenagers at a mulch shop. They may have jobs, but they don't have to. They still, even in this scenario, do not have to run a household or have enough money to pay rent. Just pointing that out.
How do you make a budget? Is just a graph enough?
No, a graph is not just enough.
A few days ago, Jack saw an example of a budget. The budget his family uses.
Okay, so there is going to be a budget. Although it's weird. It's weird that this budget. Wait, he just implied this budget. Wait, did he just? Oh, I got to take it back because did he just say this budget scene is prior to that moment? Let's try that again.
A few days ago, Jack saw an example of a budget. The budget his family uses.
He did. He did. I don't know. I would have made this if I was directing this. I would have definitely made this scene after that other scene. Now it seems weird that Jack doesn't know shit about budgets.
The budget his family uses. Out of its total weekly income, Jack's family allows so much for food, household, clothing. Each part of their regular expenses is allowed for in the budget. And they try to make their expenses regular so as to follow the budget as closely as possible. Yes, even Jack's allowance for his work around the house is part of the family budget. And there's a provision for savings, even with all those other expenses. So the family has a...
Back when people thought saving money made you rich. No, investing money makes you rich. Welcome to the 21st century. Life's a bitch.
budget which allows for savings. Are budgets just for parents? Can Jack do any saving out of his income? Well, let's see. Let's take a look at it. There's that work-at-home allowance of $2 a week. And Jack earns $6 a week working part-time in the library.
$6 a week used to be a librarian's part-time wage. God damn.
Now combine these two, and we have Jack's total income, $8 a week, for Jack's expenses and what he can save.
Like, here's the thing, though. When you're that age, like, almost everything you're spending your money on is bullshit. Like, you don't have real needs. Like, you don't even probably have to buy most of your own food. It's going to be easy for Jack to save this money. This is not really equitable to adult saving situations.
Let's see. Regular, predictable expenses like lunch money, car fare, and then the expenses that aren't quite so easy to predict. Personal expenses.
Wait, car fare? You're taking the taxi to school? What the fuck do they mean car fare? Is that what they call paying for gas in the 50s? I don't know.
After school snacks. Uh-huh. Now let's try to hold that down to 50 cents and save more.
Okay, so each of these little they got these bunch of round doodads out here. For the people listening somewhere that's not Spotify, they got these round doodads here, and they're cutting them in half, and each of these things represents $1. So however much he's spending on what is either gas or bus fare or something, it's only 50 fucking cents. Holy shit. Lunches, $1.50. Personal expenses, $1. Snacks, 50 fucking cents.
Then school supplies.
He gets all his school supplies for 50 cents. Like, God, no wonder the economy was good in the 50s. My God. You could survive on what is considered pocket change today. I have enough in my wallet right now to cover almost everything that he has calculated from his budget so far. Good God.
And entertainment, movies, and dates. There.
Going on a date for $1? I mean, I guess that makes sense. If you can get food, if you can get a meal for $1.50, and in a movie costs like what, 25 cents, maybe 10 cents. Two people, that's probably like 20 or 30 cents. I don't even know. Strawberry sundae, it's goddamn 15 cents.
Does that handle Jack's expenses? Look, there's $3 left for savings. That's more than Jack expected. What did he do with all that money before? There's one type of thing that...
That's a good question. There was way less shit to buy back then. And this kid is definitely not on drugs. You think he's dumb enough to pay for pornography? He's not old enough to buy pornography, you stupid son of a bitch. But no, apparently these that's the other thing, is that a 15-cent sundae actually still fits in that fucking budget pretty well. Like, that could still be part of the snack budget.
Ate up his cash. If he'd do without extravagances, he could save every week. But he'll have to watch things, keep records of expenditures.
Okay, he's taking out a
He'd better write down a list of expenses to watch.
It's raining
Too
down
many
stuff.
movies, too much candy.
It says watch these expenses.
And maybe Jack can try Ralph's
Cursive
idea
is
of
too
a graph.
cursive. I can't read it. But one of the things on the list was candy. Okay, he's finished writing. He's looking at it.
When you save for a specific
Pinning
goal
it up on a
or purpose,
cork board.
it's easier to
Oh
stick
shit,
to the
he's got
budget
like
if you have a
what
visual
do they call
reminder.
those? Dream boards or something? Like that bullshit from The Secret?
$3 a week for 14 weeks will do the trick.
My God. People in the 50s knew The Secret. That's why they got ahead.
$3 a week for 14 weeks will do the trick.
They're showing these graphs
Jack got
things
underway
again.
in fine style. The fourth week, this caught Jack's eye. $1, That'll knock a hole in the budget. Maybe not save so much this week. No. Want that camera. Budgets ought to allow for this sort of expense. Why, Jack's budget does allow for it. Entertainment, that's right. That's simple. Just don't go to any movies this week. But that show at the Strand. Wanted to see that. And it won't be on next week. Can't go to both that and the class mixer. Have to choose.
I would describe what he's doing, but I'd be competing with the narrator. He's just looking sad and shaking his head and like... shaking his head like, oh, I'm listening to this on Apple Radio, and I just have to imagine this stuff.
More fun at the mixer.
It's not called Apple Radio. Don't look at me. I'm stupid. I'm not stupid. I shouldn't say that about myself. My body and my brain might believe me. I am smarter than Jack, though. I don't have a budget, but I am smarter than him. It's just I can tell by the way he smiles.
That's what it'll be. Well, you can't have everything you want, and Jack wants a camera.
Pete soup. No, Coke, please. Make it 2.
Right.
Well, you must be on a budget. How's it working out?
By the way, just for context, they don't have... This is not a time period where there's cocaine in the Coca-Cola. But it's interesting that guys going to a place and just ordering a Coca-Cola is a sign that they're on a budget.
Pretty well, I guess, but...
Oh, for those who can't see, they're in the they're back at the soda shop. If you hadn't guessed from context clues.
It's hard sometimes. Oh boy, I sure would like a Pete Super Delight right now.
Well, Pete Super Delight. You see, I actually thought he said pea soup before, and I was like, that's an interesting choice at a ice cream shop.
Jack, you can't stick to your budget all of the time.
No, Jack doesn't have to follow his budget. but he has made his own rules to save for a camera.
Oh, that's an interesting directorial choice.
As
They when the guy who brings in the Coke also has one of those fucking sundaes on there. And so Jack's like eyeballing it while he's handing him the Coke. Temptation is always there. You know, this video is not too bad, to be completely honest.
long as he follows those rules and chooses to save, he'll find that the pennies certainly add up at the end of the week.
You know,
But
this
not
is
all
not bad.
choices are so easily made.
It's not weird like the other ones.
That'll be some football game, and Jack wants to go. Who wouldn't? Well,
Tickets are $3.
where can this fit into the budget?
That's
Perhaps
3
the money
weeks.
for entertainment and... No, he's already used that for Dad's birthday next week. It's either
That's,
no savings this week or no game. So, to go to the game and not save anything this week means setting his camera back 1 week. Jack decides the game is worth postponing the camera for 1 week. He notes the expense in his little book.
See, that's how you know the 50s are boring. Because they think football is a form of entertainment. I know. I'm the odd man out here. Fuck football.
But that pen, the one he's had so long, has to break now. Have to buy a new one. See, this budget business is no good. Jack doesn't see how anybody makes it work. But by the time he gets home, Jack has thought it out. And he knows that when you want something hard enough, you can find ways to save for it. One way to keep the budget going is to make things do. Jack knows how to fix
Oh, this is getting interesting. Okay, so to make things do, this is some old school shit, man. We're talking about belt tightening. We don't talk as much about belt tightening these days. Interestingly enough, because capitalism doesn't really want you to tighten your belt. It just doesn't want you to take the savings from the stuff that you already owe to other people. You see, what a lot of people don't talk about is that if a whole bunch of people in America were suddenly like, oh shit, I'm poor, better tighten up my belt, it would take an incredible chunk out of our economy, and numerous industries would suffer, especially entertainment or arts-based activities. In fact, almost anything that wasn't directly related to survival would almost definitely suffer in an economy where everyone is tightening their belts at the same time. Vicious cycle, that austerity.
that leaky pen with a little cement.
He's going to try and fix his own pen. But you know what? That's another thing. Like, capitalism has put us in this place where we don't try and fix enough shit that we already own. I will say that that is good. We should try and fix more of our own shit. Also, the industries need to stop being incentivized to make so much disposable garbage. Like, especially since disposable garbage is constantly what's used to victimize the poor. Poor people constantly have to buy new stuff because they can only afford the disposable items. When you can only afford disposable things, it means it may be cheap enough. It's one of those things where, like, the disposable option is cheaper now and more available now for you, so you can get it. However, if you continuously buy the disposable option because you can't afford anything else, you will never be able to save money to get the non-disposable version of something. Because that disposable version is a constant background expense. Like, take diapers, for instance. Sure, a reusable diaper costs like $30. And like that's, I mean, to be fair, that's if you're buying the cool ones off of Etsy. But if you go to a store to buy a disposable diaper, it's still going to be like $30 and you're going to get like two. And you're going to get like two of those motherfuckers. And now, so that initial expense is much higher. when you could be grabbing a pack of disposable diapers for like $4, and you're going to get like 24 or 30 of them or some ridiculously large number. But now you have to constantly pay to get those. It is estimated that that parents will spend roughly $2,000 to $4,000 a year on disposable diapers. So if you want to, but if you're going to use reusable diapers, well, A, you're going to have to clean them all the time, which is gross. I've done it. But these initial investments on disposable diapers will result in you not having to constantly spend on the non-disposable. It will save you money on not having to constantly buy the disposable version. This thing technically about pens is probably the same. It's pens the same way. How many people buy an actually expensive handcrafted pen? Almost nobody. What do we do instead? We go and we pay $5 at a time to get like 20 of these pens, where 2/3 of like 2 to 3 out of the whole bag, 2 to 3, maybe even more of them are just going to not fucking work. And the rest are going to get lost or destroyed or dry up because we don't take care of them because they're so disposable. We have no respect for them. And this is a symptom of capitalism and race to the bottom economics.
Not as good as new, but it'll hold for a while. So Jack goes on trying to stick to his revised schedule. But a few weeks later, his repair job gives out. He just has to buy a new pen. This one, which fits within his 50-cent school supplies budget, is not a good buy at any price.
Oh my God, they're actually addressing it. They're actually addressing that sometimes on a budget, you have to buy the shitty, gonna break easy version of something to stay in your budget. Oh my God, that's actually coming up.
But to pay for this one, he'd have to take some out of his savings. He knows, however, that buying cheap, unsatisfactory products is never thrifty.
Oh my God! Oh my God, it acknowledged it! This video's actually good! This is the shit we should still be learning! Holy shit!
So, even though this pen will make him draw money from his savings account, it is a better buy and a necessity. But Jack isn't going to let that setback stop him. He still wants that camera. By saying no to extravagance. By finding ways of entertainment that don't cost money.
I'm sorry, I haven't been describing what's happening.
By fixing
so
things and making them last.
He's just doing various...
Jack keeps going toward that goal.
Things.
Every week seems
now we're looking at the graph
easier,
again. It's climbing.
until finally Jack makes it. Right on schedule.
We see the
Isn't
camera.
that a honey? It was really worth saving for.
Oh,
As Jack
now
gets
Jack's
a better
showing his
idea of what he
dad.
can do, he reorganizes his figures to save better and spend better. He's making new plans.
Oh, he
How
actually
about
is spending less on entertainment.
How will you do it?
Which is actually weird because the previous example has proved to us that the entertainment costs more than some of the other things. Oh, now he's going to buy a watch. He just took a sticker of a watch on the board. Okay, wow. So I'm actually impressed with that one. There was no weird stuff in that one like some of the previous ones I've done. And I agreed with almost every... Get the fuck out of here, YouTube ads. So that I'm actually blown away by that. I was totally expecting to just not... I always expect these to be dumb, to be honest with you. Like, they have good advice, but like some of them are kind of authoritarian, and some of them are just like, some of them have genuinely bad advice. Have genuinely like borderline horrific advice. Now we're gonna watch one. Now we're gonna go through one that is bad. This is a bad one. And I know this is a bad one because I've seen bits and pieces of it before. And also because the topic is 1950s education on homosexuals. So I know this is a bad one. Because if there's one thing I know for a fact people were dumb about back then, it's homosexuals. Get ready for, so trigger warning. This might be shocking or offensive. Content warning. Is that what we're saying now? Boy beware. Is that what the title is? Jesus Christ. Hold on. I made my picture too big. It's covering up too much of the boys beware. That is what it is. Oh my God. Right off the bat. The title is alarmist. Hey, men, were you aware that you could get raped? Right off the bat. They didn't say the rape. Produced with the cooperation of the Inglewood Police Department and the Inglewood Unified School District. Oh my God. So our last video was by a business college, which makes sense. This one is put out by the police. So this is straight up police state propaganda. Okay, let's go. Man, this text stays on the screen a while. Okay, we see guy suit coming out of some kind of building. I don't know, the video quality is terrible. You can barely read it. You can't really hardly read any of the signs. He's walking around to his car. There's some music playing. He's getting in the car. He's about to take off down this black and white street. Everything's black and white. It's for context. Oh, he's driving. Okay.
I'm Lieutenant Williams, a police officer attached to
Of course,
the
it
Juvenile
stars a
Division.
cop.
I'm on my way to Monroe Junior High School to talk to a group of young people. That looks
He's
innocent
coming up on
enough,
some
doesn't it?
some
Lots of young
hitchhikers.
people hitchhike. Seems like a good way to get from one place.
Hold on, we gotta play that back.
But sometimes there are dangers involved with hitchhike. Seems like a good way to get from one place to another.
He's driving past some guys on the side of the road with their thumb out.
Lots of young people hitchhike. Seems like a good way to get from one place to another. But sometimes there are dangers involved that never meet the eye.
Oh man. So this is also like
Take the case of Jimmy
it's also like an early, hey kids, don't go hitchhiking. Don't let hitchhikers in your car. They're gonna grab your penis.
Barnes. Jimmy played baseball all afternoon and he didn't feel like walking
Kid
home, so he
sticking out
decided
his
to
thumb on
thumb
the
a
road.
ride.
Standing way in the crosswalk, by the way. Okay, he's getting picked up.
He'd done it 100 times before, and he didn't think anything was unusual when the driver struck up a friendly conversation. In fact, he seemed like a real nice guy. He asked Jimmy if he played baseball in the park often.
The driver.
Jimmy told him they practiced 3 times a week and played a rival group on Friday afternoon. The stranger was a good listener, too, and it only seemed minutes before they pulled up in front of Jimmy's house.
So far, perfectly innocent.
When Jimmy got out, the stranger gave him a friendly pat.
A friendly pat. Physical contact.
Then he told him he'd see him again.
Okay, Okay, so I'm going to describe the guy they have playing the quote-unquote homosexual. He has a severe balding spot. He has interesting sunglasses on. And he's got like a tiny mustache. And if I'm being 100% honest, he looks like a horrifically bad impersonation of John Waters. Not a good one, like a horrifically bad impersonation. How do you think they cast this role? Also, do you think that's his real hairline? Because it looks a little funky. Like, I mean, I guess a person's hair could thin in that way.
As he always drove by the park on his way home.
So they're warning you about gay people gaining your trust before they grab your dick. Once again, I just want to state, I don't agree with this video. It is pure propaganda and super offensive. Okay, kids walking with a baseball glove.
Sure enough, the following day when Jimmy finished playing ball, well, the man was there waiting.
Okay, Jimmy's running up to the car. Guy's opening the door. Jimmy's hopping in. Driving off.
They stopped at a
Going up the
drive-in and
Strami
the
place.
stranger treated him to a Coke. During their conversation, he told several
I'm sorry.
off-color jokes.
How did he just say the word Coke?
But Jimmy had heard others before, and, well, it made him feel big to so easily win the confidence of an older person.
Off-color jokes. Even back in the 50s, we were telling dick jokes. Not me. It was the homosexuals telling the dick jokes. All right, bunch of ducks in a pond. Nope. Oh, I see. They're on the edge of the pond watching the ducks. Super gay activities. Oh no, they're fishing.
The following Saturday, they went fishing together. By now, they
Yeah,
were
that's what I
using
said, fishing.
first names. Ralph said it was more friendly.
This is some seriously... Okay.
Jimmy hadn't enjoyed himself so much in a long time.
Jimmy's having a good time. Now they're gonna try
Then
and tell you it's a
during
bad
lunch,
thing.
Ralph showed him some pornographic pictures.
Inappropriate.
Jimmy knew he shouldn't be interested, but, well, he was curious.
Inappropriate. This is the only... So far, this is the genuine red flag. If you are a teenager, adults should not be showing you pornography. That's up to you to find on your own. And now that it's easy, there's no excuse. No excuse to go looking for strangers to give you pornography. There's no excuse. Or you can go with the classic millennials were probably the last generation to do this way of getting pornography. You know, just finding it in a dumpster or in the woods or abandoned under a bridge. You know, just the random places that in the 90s and early 2000s, people would just leave pornography or go to a venue after a particularly bizarre punk show.
What Jimmy didn't know was that Ralph...
Okay, wait, I should explain that. I once did when I was a kid, I was in a theater group that shared a performance space with punk bands. And one day we came in to do our show. We were actually all teenagers. But like someone had just, during the show the night before, had just torn up pornographic magazines and threw them all over the place. And like we had to like clean them up and throw them away and stuff. And you know, like as a teenager, I was trying to think of ways I could maybe get some of those pieces of paper out of there, but I never did.
was sick, a sickness that was not visible like smallpox, but no less...
It's worth noting that at this point in time, homosexuality was viewed as a type of mental disease. And during this period of time, you did not want to get classified as someone with a mental disorder, because this was during a very ableist period of history, where any sort of mental disorder could essentially be used as an excuse to take away all of your rights, like all of them. So that's not a thing you'd want to be back then. But actually, I'm going to rewind that a bit because I kind of interrupted it. Let's hear what he says, because it's offensive, and it's important to remember that this was something that was believed at a certain point in history.
He knew he shouldn't be interested, but, well, he was curious. What Jimmy didn't know was that Ralph was sick, a sickness that was not visible like smallpox, but no less dangerous and contagious.
Just compared homosexuality to smallpox. What the fuck?
A sickness of the mind.
Wait, did he just say it was contagious?
Ralph was sick, a sickness that was not visible like smallpox, but no less dangerous and contagious.
Yes, he did. This is a period of time where this is a video this was a period of time where they genuinely believed you could catch the gay. What the like, just so you know, you can't. I feel ridiculous at this day and age that I have to say this. You don't catch the gay. It's not a thing that you catch or get. It's connected to I'm not smart enough to explain it, but it has something to do with loci on your chromosomes. You don't catch gay. If you could catch gay, everyone would leave musical theater gay. Therefore, you can't catch gay.
A sickness of the mind. You see, Ralph was a homosexual, a person who demands an intimate relationship.
Demands an intimate relationship with men. Demands. Think about this language. That's a really, think about that language. Demands. The implication is that gay people can't be satisfied with regular heterosexual sex. They demand the gay sex. They feel entitled to it. This is the propaganda. This is definitely, yes, this is 100% propaganda.
With members of their own sex.
Why does he? Okay, they're walking through the woods and the kid has a gun. Fucking 50s, man.
But by now, Jimmy felt a fondness for Ralph, and they continued to go places together.
Now they're
Ralph was
miniature
generous
golfing.
and took Jimmy many interesting places and did many nice things for him.
What's weird is that, literally he's describing just what is normally considered typical dating behavior. Well, not the pornography thing, but the other stuff. Well, maybe some people. The other stuff. This other stuff is just typical dating stuff. They're playing creepy music. Now, to be fair, kids definitely minor, so this is wrong out the bat. Although, at this point in history, possibly legal. But this is typical dating behavior, but they're presenting it as sinister because, well, it's not hetero, so it's sinister.
He bought presents and even gave him money.
Walking to a staircase.
But payments were expected in return. You see, Jimmy hadn't recognized Ralph's approach soon enough. When Ralph first asked Jimmy to go fishing alone, he should have discussed it with his parents or teacher.
In fairness, kids, if you suddenly have adult friends that are not in a work, if you have adult friends who are trying to hang out with you outside of your outside of a place where it would be normal for a teenager to meet an adult, like work or a class or something, you should talk to your parents about the person. And maybe, before you go anywhere with that person, your parents should definitely meet them. And yeah, that is good advice. That being said, that's not just advice. That's advice for all adults of any sex, race, or gender. I mean, it's advice for teenagers about adults. You know what I mean. All right. Apparently, they're going to imply he's charging him sexual favors. Let's go.
Finally, Jimmy told his parents, and they reported it to the juvenile authorities. Ralph was arrested, and Jimmy was released.
So anything that actually happened with Jimmy happened. They're only going to imply the sexual favors. They're not going to say it out loud. That's interesting. Censorship, even in our propaganda.
Based on probation and the custody of his...
So, that's actually a problem. That means it's relying on you, the sexually uneducated teenager or child, to figure out what the inappropriate behavior or the inappropriate repayments were for these gifts and nice things. This is actually why we need sexual education, is so that kids understand what that kind of abuse is. This attitude towards it obscures what that kind of abuse is. That's actually bad. This will only result in more child confusion. So anyone who is watching this, who is part of their target demographic, might not be able to articulate or put forward what the wrong thing was. It also means that in cases of heterosexual abuse, they have given zero warning for anyone who might experience heterosexual abuse in this situation, because literally all they've done was show typical dating activities going on between two same-sex people, and then an implied molestation behind closed doors. So there is it is not just dangerously irresponsible and scientifically inaccurate propaganda against homosexuals, it is also propaganda that is failing to prepare children to understand if a sexual assault is happening to them. It's not properly going to teach them about that. So this is just terrible.
Parents. But all homosexuals are not passive. Some resort to violence, as in the case.
Oh, wait. Are we about... Oh, man. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe they're about to get more severe here. Hold on.
Of Mike Merrick.
Okay. Hard trigger warning for this next part.
In the heat of
apparently.
competition, no one noticed the man who sat and watched. And when the game broke up, and the others
they're so
left,
blurry I
Mike
can't
decided
distinguish
to
these
stay and
children's
practice a little longer.
races, but I'm going to assume they're probably... Wait, he might...
The stranger joined
Let's see
him.
what we got
He
going.
was friendly, and, well, it was better than playing alone.
It does look a little bit darker than the child molester.
But after a few shots, Mike realized he had already overstayed his time and suggested he better leave. The stranger told him if he'd like to stay longer, he'd be glad to drive him home when they finished. Sounded great to Mike. Chance to play longer and get a ride home, too.
Nope. God, I'm genuinely uneasy as to how far this is going to go. They're just playing more basketball.
The stranger told him he'd make a fine player someday if he got lots of practice.
Is this like in Catwoman, where the basketball is a metaphor for sex? Is that what's happening?
The companionship, the praise, the friendly attitude dispelled any misgivings Mike might have had about going with a stranger. He probably never
Is this why baby boomers are so uncomfortable with their emotions? It's because they were taught that anyone who gives them praise is about to rape them. Is that what's going on? Because that's fucked up, yo.
Going with a stranger. He probably never realized until too late that he was riding in the shadow of death. But sometimes...
Holy shit, riding in the shadow of death? Oh, fuck, is he gonna kill this kid?
Time that evening, Mike Merrick traded his life for a newspaper headline.
Yes, that's where they're going with this. Jesus.
As Denny and Jerry got the papers ready for Jerry's afternoon delivery, they only casually noticed the two boys that raced by in the afternoon traffic, and they didn't pay much attention to the car that drew up shortly afterwards until the man called them over. Had two boys been by on bicycles? The boys nodded they had. Could they recognize them if they saw them again? Well, Denny guessed he could. Then hop in, the man said. Those are stolen bikes. Without giving it another thought, Denny got in and the car sped away. Jerry watched. He'd been told many times, if a friend got in a car with a stranger, to write down the license number. It didn't seem to apply, but, well, fortunately, he marked it down.
That's genuinely good advice. It's being used, it's being given in a horrific propagandic hit piece. But that is good advice.
When he delivered a paper to Denny's house, he asked his mother if they'd caught the boys that had stolen the bicycles. Denny hadn't returned, so he told her the story and gave her the paper with the license number.
The narrators, I mean, basically the stuff
being a careful parent
that the narrator is saying is what's happening.
Jerry supplied the necessary information, and the stranger's car was quickly spotted. It was a good example of how important it is to always get the license number and description of any stranger who takes a young person off alone, no matter what they tell you.
That is actually good advice, everybody. That's good advice. I'm sorry you had to hear it from this.
Public restrooms can often be a
Oh my
hangout for the
God.
homosexual.
Oh my God. Oh my God. We were doing bathroom scares in the 50s too? Holy shit. Okay, here we go.
Bobby and his friends hadn't noticed the man who had been in the restroom when they changed, and as it was late, he suggested they take the shortcut under the pier, but the others preferred to take the more traveled way home.
That's right. No, I'm not going to say that. I'm sorry, it was too dark. It was too dark for me. I thought it in my head, and I was like, fuck. Here's the thing. They're about to do, I won't make it a joke. They're about to do this thing where it's basically like well, if a woman walks in a dark alley, they're doing that, but with this teenage boy. Don't go under the pier.
When Bobby recognized the stranger as the man in the restroom, the shortcut under the pier didn't seem like a good idea at all.
Okay. The kid makes a run for it.
After all, it's more fun to stay with your friends anyway. Bobby had made a wise decision. It may have saved his life.
A boy would never go into the dark alley,
The decision is always yours.
No, I'm kidding. That's
And
not what they're
your whole
implying,
future
but
may
that is
depend on making
technically
the
how
right
the
one.
metaphor was used.
So no
Not
matter
metaphor,
where you meet a stranger,
analogy.
be careful if they are too friendly. If they try to win your confidence.
Oh, it cuts off early. That's weird. Okay, well, that's enough for me now. So this was an interesting experiment. We went through one video that was actually, you know what? Not bad. Not bad at all. Made me angry about economics, but not bad at all. Then we watched that one, which was fucking terrible. Some good advice on stranger danger, but like maybe that's just what it should have been a video about, was stranger danger. Maybe they should have included girls. Maybe it shouldn't be so like in no example did they actually. So like literally, if you're a kid and you don't already know what an intimate relationship is, then literally nothing in that video makes sense. Like you'd just be sitting there going, well, wait, is a gay person like a child murderer? Do they only kill boys? What kind of intimate relationship are we talking about? Am I in danger every time an adult hugs me? Like, now to be fair, back then people didn't hug, and it's why they were so incredibly depressed. But yeah, no, it's a terrible video that both scandalously makes it gives out blatant, gross misinformation. To be fair, misinformation at the time that was considered what people thought, and we now know that's nothing to back that shit up. It's not contagious, is what I'm saying. Jesus Christ, that I have to say that at all. But you know what? There are people out there today that don't understand that. And that's a huge problem. That's a huge problem that there are people in the world right now that don't understand you can't catch being gay. It's not how it works. It's not how anything works. But also, the video itself is also terrible because it's meant to warn children of sexual assault, but it is so vague that no teenager or kid of that period would even know what it was, and they could easily be tricked by like a creepy uncle. Nothing in this video would be enough to protect a child from their creepy uncle, because a creepy uncle doesn't fit into any of those categories. They are literally a family member that would be trusted alone with you. And statistically, we know that most child molestations come from some family member. So there's nothing in that video that would possibly protect you or help a child understand if this type of abuse came from a family source, because it's so vague about it. You could easily be a child could easily be tricked with this information by someone who is already close and trusted by them and their family, because this is only about stranger danger. And don't get me wrong, stranger danger is a real thing. You need to be concerned about it. Back then, it was actually an even bigger thing, because half of the technology and concepts that we have for catching criminals, we didn't do back then. So it was very easy to get away with crime up until like cameras were everywhere in our society, and everything had and credit cards and IDs were tied to everything. It was way easier to do crime back in the day, but stranger danger is still a real thing, and kids do need to be warned about it. But if you're only sensationalizing this gross anti-homosexual propaganda, I should say, then you're not properly preparing children for actual danger. You are possibly going to protect a small group of kids from a potential very niche thing, compared to all the other sources of this type of danger there could be. So that's sort of my thoughts on that. So that's a terrible video. And if you stayed through it with me, well, good for you. I hope you found my commentary amusing and or informative in some way. Oh man, fuck that video, man. But it is important to understand how far we have come from the 50s. How much shit that in the 50s was put in our faces and has turned out to be absolute dog shit, is important to commentate on. That other video, that was good knowledge. That was stuff that we probably need nowadays. But this video here is a great example of stuff that needs to be left in the past. And how we need to better address stuff now, instead of what is essentially just sensationalistic, vague, misleading propaganda put out by a police department, meaning that essentially at this point when this video was made, like, homosexuality was basically a crime. And the thing is that the 50s were less than 100 years ago. You understand that is not long ago. It's easy to forget that that's not long ago. But in terms of change, in terms of an amount of progress and change that has happened in that time period, it has been monumental. It has been historic. And the fact that we have people now, though, that want to go back to the 50s is a problem. And we need to be aware of it. We need to think about it. We need to get out there and vote, people. That's not the only thing you need to do, but at this point in time, it's probably what you need to do now. If you can think of anyone who possibly believes the bullshit in that last video we watched that is running for an office, you need to get out there and make sure they don't win. We are at a very pivotal point here. There are people who want to set back the clock on things like abortion and laws about homosexuality. They're creating a trans panic to freak out the middle and lower classes. Get out there and vote. They need to learn that these policies are not endorsed by the public. We, the public, need to say that anyone who is pushing these policies doesn't get to be in government. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your vote, but I am going to tell you that if you vote for people who are pushing these anti-trans law bills, if you're voting for somebody who made it so that doctors in schools now we've created a situation where doctors in schools are going to be inspecting girls' genitals for sporting events, that's a problem. That's not good legislation. That's blatantly irresponsible legislation. Horrifically irresponsible legislation. And did you know that this heartbeat bill, do you know what a baby actually looks like at the 6-week period? where it supposedly has a heartbeat. It looks like Parmesan cheese, people. The cells look like, it looks like a pile of Parmesan cheese. It doesn't look like a baby. It looks like a pile of Parmesan cheese. Look it up. Maybe not a pile, like a smattering. The point is, right now there are people who want to take us back to the 50s, and they should not be allowed to do that. The 50s had a lot going for them in certain ways. But this culture war shit, where we're legislating people's rights and abilities in a society and how to live their own lives, is a serious problem. It's a serious problem. So get out there, and whatever you do, don't vote for anyone who supports the overturning of Roe v. Wade, and don't vote for anyone who wants to cut Medicare or Medicaid. Don't vote for anyone who is trying to end gay marriage. These are serious policies that need to be taken seriously. These are not policies that can be allowed to move forward. Vote. Don't vote because you think someone's nice. Don't vote because you like to have a beer with them. Vote because these policies are going to literally damage American citizens. Policies are the only thing worth voting on. These policies must be stopped. Period. Thank you for listening or watching. If you, please go and, do whatever you can to support my podcast. If that means that, if you're listening on Spotify, I think you can leave likes or shares or anything wherever you're listening, whatever you're listening on. Hit the likes, do the shares, subscribes, follows. It would be so much easier if all the podcast places were more unified in how they give you positive feedback. Be helpful to me. But go do that stuff. Leave reviews, stars, upvotes, whatever. If you feel like supporting us directly, we take money. You can do that on Anchor FM. If you wanna write the podcast and tell me why I'm crazy and these policies are important, you can write me at rubenuncut@gmail.com. Or you can leave me I think it's a 1-minute voice message on Anchor FM. That's Ruben, Anchor FM, anchor.fm, Ruben-Ryan. Something like that. All right. Well, thank you for listening. Peace out, y'all.